Hello and welcome to another Beard Clipper video. This video is a particularly exciting one for me as it is in collaboration with one of my favourite YouTube channels. A channel that you should know because he was in my Recommendation Mondays videos, and of course you watch all of those and you follow all of my recommendations, so you'll know him. I am of course talking about GMA Tank from the superb YouTube channel Paint to Life.
Hello people of the internet, I'm Mike, also known as GMA Tank, talking to a bearded bloke from Bulgaria, all the way from up here in Canada. How international our hobby really is.
Yes, this is such a wonderful thing about this hobby. It's one of the things I enjoy the most is meeting and making friends with so many international people. It's just brilliant. So the way that this collaboration worked is GMA Tank asked me to pick a miniature, to paint it and to send it to him. And when he received it, he would then write a story, paint up some more miniatures and basically combine the two, which I thought was an absolutely brilliant idea. And of course, me being me, I went a little bit overboard on the terrain and yeah, I was very excited to do this build. This is one of the secret ones I've been working on. So I packaged it up, posted it to Canada, and after a very long wait in today's climate, it finally reached you, didn't it?
Well, I'll admit it, when I saw the mini you picked, I was stumped. What was I going to paint that would go along with that? Then I came up with an idea and a story started to develop. And lo and behold, when I opened your package you sent me, the wonderfully large steps you made, the statues flanking them, it was just marvelous. A perfect space for my Spanish conquistadors. It fits perfectly with the story I wanted to tell, and you didn't even know what that story was going to be. Awesome stuff.
Thanks very much, man. Really appreciate that. So enough jabbering, that's the intro done. Let's get to the normal Beard Clipper style video. I hope you enjoy it. Do leave a comment below if you've enjoyed this, if you've enjoyed the collaboration, if you've enjoyed Mike's video, which will be linked somewhere, wherever it goes up there, and also in the description below. Go and check that out as well, obviously after you finish watching mine. But yeah, let's stop jabbering and let's start building. So now finally it's time to put some paint on this guy who I have primed ages ago, and he's just been sat there glaring at me saying, paint me, paint me. And here you can see this is the artwork that I'm going to work off of that. I mean, it's just beautiful, isn't it? Bright purple and green. So it's basically going to just be two colours, which is pretty cool. Makes it a bit easier. Hopefully it'll work out. And the two colours I'm going to go for is going to be basically a violet red or a royal purple, which I will work in whichever one I'm going to use. And then the green, I'm going to use Livery Green. As you can see, that's a very bright colour, and hopefully that will work quite nicely. Now I do have some glow-in-the-dark pigments from Green Stuff World, and I have green, and I am actually tempted to mix green pigment in with this livery green so that it actually glows in the dark. I think I might do that. I don't unfortunately have any purple, but I think that'll work quite nicely. So that's what I'm going to do. I will run the camera, I'll pop some music on, and that's how I'll do it. This is, as I've said already in the intro, if you've seen the intro, going to be going over to Mike from Paint to Life as part of an awesome collaboration which I'm doing with him, which I'm very, very excited about because I'm a huge fan of his channel. So yeah, so this needs to be done really, really well. So I'm going to take my time with this. I'll put some music on and you can watch. But this is the artwork I'm going for. So I think first of all I'll do the purple and then I'll do the green. And as I say, I may very well mix in some pigments to make it glow in the dark. I think that'll be a really, really cool thing to do. So yeah, let's give it a go. So let's give this a go then. So I've painted on a first coat of the purple, as you can see, and I did use the violet red. What I'm now going to do is I'm just going to use this sprue, this blister pack. I do save these for this purpose, a very nice little mixing implements, mixing tools. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a little bit of this green in, which is the glow in the dark green. And then with that, I will also, once I've done that, I will also add in just a little bit of medium. Just normal medium, I think, matte medium. It's going to be good. And I'll mix that together, and then I will try just a couple of drops. If it comes out, it's a bit blocked. Obviously, I don't use my mediums very often. So let me clear that. There we are, managed to get that unblocked. So just a couple of drops of the medium, just to help mix it. And what I'll do, I'll give it a go. I'll run the camera and we'll see whether it works. It would be nice if it did, because it would be really nice if this could be glow in the dark. It's mixing up okay. Let's see how this turns out, shall we? I'll run the camera while I do the next steps, so you can see what it looks like. And then I'll try and get a picture of it in the dark if it goes on nicely, and we'll see whether it's going to work. Well, there we are. I think that went on okay. I'll let that dry now. With that kind of like powder in it, this paint is drying very fast. I mean, it's going off as I'm watching it. So I've had to paint quite quickly. I've not had as much time to work with it as I wanted to. I could possibly put some more medium in it. But yeah, I'm happy with how that's looking. I might just do what you can see me doing now, just off camera, just go in and touch up some bits. It is quite hard painting on camera to try and stay in shot. And sometimes you either forget and you go out of shot, or you spend so much time worrying about being in shot that you miss some bits where you're supposed to be painting. So anyway, so I might just do a little bit of touching up, but largely I'm very happy with that. And I'll be back to do the sword, and I think I'm going to do the top of his head purple, so I'll just do that off shot as well, that with the same colour. And then I'm going to have to start thinking about the bottom of his feet, probably purple as well. Might make the little dude in the back, coming out the back, do that brown as a different colour, and as I say, the sword as well. And then I'll have a think about what base I'm going to put him on. But yeah, I'm rather pleased with how that's coming out, actually. That's looking really cool. I might actually have to buy one of these myself. So with the mini painted up, it now comes to the bit that I enjoy the most. So what I've done is I've printed out these oof faces, which were designed by Quinn for Roto. You want to meet these people, come and join us on the Tabletop Crafters United Discord, or go and join Quinian's Patreon. And these are awesome. I love them. I love them so much. They're so great. Such fun. What I'm going to do is I'm making a display base so that it can tell the story when this actually gets over to Mike. So this is going to be roughly the size of the base. It's quite large, obviously, but he's got 3 or 4 miniatures that's going to go on it, and my dude's going to be maybe coming down the stairs like this, charging, and his dudes will be at the bottom. So that's the idea. And what I've done is I've basically cut out some this to make steps, so it looks like you've got like some kind of processionary or temple or something out of sight back here, and he's coming charging out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue it all together using gator glue. So I'm just going to glue each section to each other and then weight it all down, and then when that's dried, what I'll do is I'll come along and texture it, and it shouldn't take too long to do, I hope. I'm actually just going to paint the whole lot together and then paint the oofs up in place, and I'm probably going to remove him from his pudding base as well, and stick him in place properly onto this board. Now you can see that I did have this prepared to put onto a slightly thinner bottom, but I decided just to use the blue foam because then I can cut dents in it and what have you, make it a little more interesting. So, bit of gator glue, some clamps, and I'll bring you back when that's dry and when we're going to look at the next step. So this has been left for 2 days actually, just because of busyness, and what I'm now going to do is unclamp it and tidy it up. Now I may have made this base a little bit big, talking to Mike. He went, oh, that large, so I'm going to see as well if I can make it a bit smaller, maybe trim it down. I might not need quite this much, and I might actually start again and do another step and put this to one side and make it differently, just having 3 steps, because what I've realised is I can have an oofs at the top, and one on this step, and then one on the bottom, and that will then shave a little bit of the required size off it. So I'm going to take the clamps off and have a look, play around with that, and I'll bring when I've made a decision. I will show you what I've done, whether I've remade it or whether I'm going to go with what I've got here. So this is now the set dimension. I've told Mike and he's gone, wow, okay, that'll do. So I think he's a bit surprised how big it is, but hopefully it won't be too oversized. I had the thought about, I had a look at the changing it up and I decided against it. Basically, I think it looks best, and the sound of the printer in the background is printing out some more of these oofs small, so I can continue to line down here. And that brings me to what I'm about to do now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some air dry clay and my green stuff weld roller. And here I have the temple one, so that's the temple roller, and it's got this really cool kind of like circular motif. So what I'm going to do is going to make use of that, and I'm going to roller out a section to go here, and then I'm going to make use of the flagstone one, and I'm going to roller out and I'm going to have that coming up the steps, so I'll have flagstones going up the steps, I think. But first of all I'm going to do the roller for the temple and get this area done here. I might end up not doing the steps with flags, I'm not sure, we'll see. So that will involve a small amount of air dry clay, a roller and some PVA glue, so I will get myself set, get that rolled out and show you how I go about sticking it down. There we are, so we have that rolled out now. So what I'm going to do is just glue that in place and then cut it. So I will use neat PVA and smear it on, and I put it on quite thick because it then combines with the clay quite nicely. I might even put a little bit too much there, to be honest. I probably don't need that much. If I was going to do the whole of the steps, that might have been better, but that's too much for this, so I'll pop it back in the bottle. I am that tight. I don't like waste. That can be reused. So anyway, yeah, but you do want to be quite generous, just maybe not quite that crazily generous. There we are, like about that. There we are. And then when that's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this in place. Now this is going to have dirt and what have you going on the sides, so I'm not too worried about the edges because I'm going to be coming along and covering those up anyway. But I will get myself a cutting tool and just come along and carefully press into the corner and slice it along that corner. And I'll do the same at this front end. This is just a simple sculpting tool. Okay, and finally what I'm going to do is work out roughly where I want it to come, and I think I want to lift it about here, so I'll cut down here. Like I say, this edge will get met with some dirt and what have you, and I'll do roughly the same thing there. So there we are. We have a nice kind of little walkway that's going towards the steps. So I will let that to dry. That'll take probably a day or so. And I'll come back to that when I've decided what I'm going to do with the steps, and I'll bring you along for that. But at the moment, I'm wondering whether I might not just leave them. But yeah, that's going to look really nice. So this is now nicely dried. It's been warm in this room today because I had to file it. So what I'm going to be doing now is I'm going to come along and I'm just going to do some damage to the floor of this, because I don't want this to look perfect. I don't want it to be too battered, but I don't want it to be quite so square cut. So I'm just going to come along with a sharp knife and just take some dents out of the step. It's just basically what you'd normally see for a path that's been used a bit. You know, maybe dead bodies dragged up it and what have you, human sacrifice. So I'll get this done, and then I'm going to decide how I'm going to texture it. Now my thinking at the moment is that I'm going to put Luke's APS modelling compound on the bottom, and I'm going to, when I do that, I've got my extra oofs, I've printed a bunch more so I can line the sides as well down here, and I'll stick those in place when I do the compound, and I'll also stick these in place, and what I'll probably do is do grout mixture over the top of everything. So I'm going to do the modelling compound first, and then I will then do the grout compound over the top, which I'll do as the texture. So I'll just use the modelling compound just to lift this leveler slightly and give it a little bit more interest. So I'll get this done. It won't take me long. As you can see, I'm not really wanting to do too much. I just want to put a few dints and dents in like this, make it a little bit more interesting in terms of its texture, and then I'm going to get the modelling compound out and apply it on the bottom section only. So yeah, coming on this, enjoying this now. It's going to be fun to see what Mike does and how he reacts when he sees it, because I think it's rather a larger piece than he expected. He should really know that I don't do things by halves. So there we are, that's enough damage I think on those stairs. So just gonna, when I've got the texture over, that'll just give it a little bit more interest. So what I'm gonna do now, mix up a very small amount of modelling compound. I won't film that, you see that a lot. Fill this side in, work out where my oofs are gonna go, and then look at doing the grout as well over the top. So I'll try and get all that done today, I think. I'd like to crack on with this. And once the grout's in place, then I can paint the lot and then send it off. So now that's dried, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along just with some normal black house paint. I'm going to paint it black, all of it black. Also going to find that I've not cleaned off all of the bits of that I cut out, but that doesn't matter, I can flick them off. So yeah, it's just going to be a case of coming over and painting everything black. I'm not sticking the oofs in down here yet, mainly because I'm then going to come along and do some texturing. And I'd like to do that without them in the way, I think, but it is just going to be a solid undercoat. So I'll get this done. I'm not going to bother filming it all, and I'll come back when I get to the next step, which will be dry brushing, I think, or no, putting the texture on and then dry brushing. So yeah, lots of black. So now we come to the magic of dry brushing. So I've got my two greys, which I always use, and I've got my big dry brush. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come along and dry brush all of the stone bits with the grey. And then when I've done that and finished doing the grey, I will then dry brush this with the brown, so the sides with the brown. Now, the sharp-eyed amongst you will have noticed that I've not actually done any texture on the stones, and that's because I actually quite like how it's looking with just what I've done so far. So I'm not going to bother. So I'll get this done. I'll probably stop filming now because I'm actually having quite a hard time getting the angles right, trying to keep it in shot. But I'll bring you back when it's done to show what it looks like. So it'll be my grey, and then this is the brown paint that I use for my terrain paint, my standard terrain paint. So it's a nice chocolatey brown. It's actually called chocolate, I think. Nougatilva, yes, chocolate. Nugget brown. So I'll just dry brush that over these side bits here where I'm going to put the flock. Now it's time to do the finishing touches on this, which is going to involve the tufts and some of the clump foliage here. Now this is homemade clump foliage made out of scrubbing brushes and paint, and I've got two colours which I really like. Now I do have some from Geek Gaming, but I think I'm going to use my homemade on this. So the idea is that I'm going to do is we're going to plant some bushes like this just along the edges, just to make it look a little bit less sparse and a bit less black and white, because this is not a monochrome build. My monochrome build was a different one. So I'm just going to make use of these little kind of clump foliages, just tuck them in like that. Let me zoom that in a bit so you can see it a bit better. And then what I'm also going to do is make use of some of those the tufts that you can see. I've got some like quite browny ones, and I've got some green ones, and I've got some purple flowers, and I'm going to stick those in as well. And I do have a thought that I might end up actually putting some like vines coming down here, but I'm not sure. I don't know whether I want it to look too overgrown or whether just having a couple of bits of greenery is going to be enough. I also need to make sure, joking aside about the size of it, that there's space for the other miniatures to fit on. So I'm just going to dress this a little bit like that, and when I'm happy with how that looks, I will glue them in place, and then I will come along with the tufts. So I'll pop some music on and then just play around with this positioning, and I'll show you what it looks like. Well, you watch me do it, and I'll stop when I've done. I think that'll do for now. I might let that go off, let that dry. I'm starting to knock things more than I'm placing them in place. So yeah, I'll let that dry and then maybe come back to it. Or maybe I'll look at it later and think I like how much I've done. But that looks like it'll be enough. So I'm happy with this. These have actually dried really, really nicely, and I don't think I actually need to do any more hard kind of hardening of that. I think it's going to be fine. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is the final steps. So I'm actually going to very, very carefully, and hopefully without damaging too much, I'm going to snip off this dude from his base, which I possibly should have done before painting. Now what I've got here are some old snips that I managed to destroy previously when doing something like this. So just be very careful when you're doing this, that you don't, like, doesn't fly off and hit yourself in the face or what have you. This is one of the biggest issues with metal miniatures, is trying to get things off of a base. The other tool that you could use, if you have it, is a little hobby saw, which I have here, and that might end up being a better idea. Let me see whether I can cut this off with the hobby saw. Yeah, that's going to be a better idea. So I'm going to get this cut off the base now. I'll probably stop filming because I'm going to need to get odd angles and what have you, as you can see. But that is cutting it okay. So I'm going to get that done, and I'll bring it back because I'm going to pin it and glue it in place, and then we can ship. Well, that was going really, really well until the final second when one of his legs snapped off. And what I've realised is that actually what you don't realise when you're looking at it is just what a tiny contact point there is here. I think I should be able to save it. I should be able to glue back on, but it might mean that I have to warn Mike that when it arrives, he may have to do a little bit of fixing as well, because it might get broken in the post. However, I will do my best to pack it well, obviously. But what I'm going to be doing now is, if I pull the piece in, move the camera a bit, so he's going to sit on the top there, and basically, obviously, with two legs, he's going to be stood like this, and what I might be able to do is brace him between the two oofs, and that should give a little bit more support, and then his leg will slot in underneath and can be glued. So I'm going to do that now. It's probably not going to be possible for me to film that because it's going to be a little bit fiddly, but I'll talk you through what I do, whether I do any whether I decide to pin or not. I think probably, seeing as I'm actually able to wedge him in place, I probably won't need to pin, so I can put a little dab of super glue on each hand, a dab of super glue on the knee, and then super glue his feet to the bottom, and then he should be done. So I'm going to get that done now and let that dry, and then we'll do the final pictures and pack it up. And this is done. It's glued in fine. As I say, a glue point here and here, glue point on the floor, on his feet, and then a bit of a touch of super glue on the knee, and actually that has done perfectly fine. So there he is, I'm finished. So what I'm going to do now is take some pictures and then pack this up and get this posted off to Canada for the long journey, and hopefully that will get to Canada safely without getting damaged. So yeah, I will I'll be crossing all my fingers and toes, and really look forward to seeing what Mike does with his painting to life of his miniatures that he's bought to go along with this and to tell the story that he tells. I'm very, very excited to see what he does, and I've really enjoyed this, particularly making the base has been a lot of fun. Those oofs are just superb. They work absolutely perfectly with this miniature. Right then, the packing is started, and as you can see, I've managed to find a box. It's probably a little bit too big, but I'd rather it was too big than too small. And what I've done is I'm packing in this really good packing material that I save, that really has, as you can see, that's not moving very much at all. Very, very solid. So what I'm now going to do is fill in this gap with some bubble wrap that I've got down here and some peanuts that are in that box, and then when that's done I will wrap it up. I need to not forget to put the extra oof faces in though, which I've got as a gift for Mike to use in another project of his. So yes, I will finish up this packing and then wrap it in lots and lots of gaffer tape, get it addressed and sent off, and then we'll wait for it to be delivered. Well, there you are. What a fantastic result and what a fun collaboration. To hear what story GMA Tech came up with, please go and see his video. It is going to be linked above somewhere probably, and it will be linked at the end of the video, and it's definitely going to be linked in the description below. So yeah, do check it out. I now know what the story is. I've not yet heard it, but the concept he came up with is fantastic, so you won't regret going to check out his video. And also, thanks so much for asking me to take part in this collaboration. I truly love your channel. It really is one of my favourite channels. I don't miss a single video, yeah, I recommended it obviously quite a while ago on Recommendation Mondays. So yeah, thanks so much for asking me to be part of this.
Thank you, thank you. The pleasure was all mine. I'm glad you love my stories. Thank you for all your support of my channel. Beard Clipper is the real deal. A hobbyist who does what he fancies, chronicling his journey and making no apologies for his art. And of course, it's plain to see for anyone who watches his channel, he's a great human being also.
Well, what can I say? Those words are just incredible. Wow, thank you very much for that. Thanks for watching, everyone. I really do hope that you can go and check Mike out, go and check GMA Tech out over at Paint to Life. He, as you can see, he's a top lad, amazing guy, brilliant storyteller, great painter, and just a true round gentleman. So yeah, go and check him out. So thanks for watching. I'll wrap up by saying, as I always do, please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.
And wash your hands, people.